Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague Russell Berger, both attorneys at Offit Kurman. And today we are talking about one of our favorite subjects that we like to talk about on OK at Work, which is AI and AI in the workplace. So recently, it's getting to the end of the year, seeing some articles recently on performance reviews, which are always a good idea to do with employees at the end of the year or, periodically, not just annually as well, but quarterly, sometimes, just frequent feedback and engagement can be good. So definitely seeing some recent articles on ways that people are using AI to help them with those reviews. What are some things that employers should think about if they want to potentially incorporate AI in that process, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest answer is that no matter where you are in this country, there's, the federal law, Title VII, as well as many state and local laws that prohibit discrimination in employment. And that can come into play in a number of ways. And as we've talked about here before, and one of the challenges of using generative AI and machine learning is that it's learning from, things that may be discriminatory and may be problematic and might not be the policies and practices that you want for your company and might be policies and practices that are unlawful. So ultimately, it's going to be on you as the employer to ensure that whatever you're using and however you're leveraging AI to help get you there is compliant from an anti-discrimination standpoint. We have seen, at least in addition to all the laws that have always applied that I just mentioned, New York City has passed a regulation that talks about requiring an annual audit and disclosure of that audit and certain notices to employees and job applicants for employers that within New York City are using certain types of AI in their employment decisions. So, part of that is primarily to say, look, we don't know how AI is working. We don't know exactly the nuts and bolts of it, but we can measure the output. And the only way to measure the output is for that output to be shared. So, what the New York City law is really saying, you got to disclose it, you got to put it out there. And while that's only in New York City at this point, we may see other regulations like that in other jurisdictions. And I think importantly, because there are anti-discrimination laws that are already on the books everywhere in this country, that it's a best practice to be compliant with them anyway. So you should understand how you're using your AI, just like you should. You would police a manager to determine if they have bias in the way that they're evaluating their direct reports and how they're making recommendations on promotions and raises. If you're using AI for those same sorts of functions, you got to do the same assessment of the AI tool.
Yeah, and you got to be really thoughtful in your approach. It's as much as AI can help save time and effort and ease the process. Sometimes if it's easier, it's just there's less oversight. So I think oversight and thoughtfulness around the process is really key here. It's not just like we've talked about in other instances. It's not going to be a substitute for using your good judgment as it relates to employees and their performance. So a lot of times when you're looking at performing a performance review for an employee, you might be looking at a couple different types of data for that. You might be looking at numbers and metrics depending on what your business is, as well as other types of more like soft factors, we call them. So AI, for instance, can be used to maybe help with gathering the information that you want to use, or helping you come up with prompts or questions or different things. Like I've seen people use it in survey creation, or I really can't figure out a way I want to say this question, or what are some good questions to ask to get this answer. So that might be a way to do it, but you want to layer that in on top with your own judgment and oversight, and a personal touch for your company as well, not just let it go.
Yeah, right. I mean, AI is a tool, and just like any other employer tool, you still have to manage the output. You have to review it. You have to ensure it's good output. And even when you try to program around it with AI, there can be secondary factors that the AI is picking up on that could be really applied in a discriminatory way and get to a disparate impact. And so you still have to police that as an employer. You can't just say, "Well, the AI did it. What am I supposed to do?" That's not an excuse that's going to fly in New York. It's there's regulation to try to navigate around that, and everywhere else, I mean, employees are going to sue, and there's going to be accountability. So ultimately, you as the business owner, the decision maker should are going to be held accountable for this. So you should make sure that it's being done accurately. Again, that's not to say don't use AI, because I think there's plenty of good reasons to use AI. But make sure you just check it, oversee it, manage it, just like anything else.
Yeah, and I think that we'll see some additional guidance coming out in the form of these laws, and eventually some more guidance just on the federal laws that have existed. So I think as people continue to use these resources more and more, there'll be more information on the best ways, best practices, best ways to do that. So, well, thank you, Russell, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.